friends, it's Tiana here today, and today I'm going to sew up another free pattern. Dragon-J7V commented under my sewing room tour video asking me if I could do the Isla top by Tiana's Closet. I looked it up. It is adorable, so we're going to sew it up today. Thank you so much for the recommendation, and if you have recommendations for free patterns or any patterns that you're like, please sew this up, comment below, and I may go ahead and sew it up and give you a shout out when I do. So anyway, I am so excited about this sew. It is a woven pattern. It's got these flowy sleeves. It's got these ties in the front with nice ruffles. It's so my type of top. So we're making it. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Let's do it. All right, we're gonna get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're gonna grab our bodice and we're gonna kind of line them up. So here is my one piece, here is my other piece. So the one that's cut mirrored, so it's like two pieces, that's my front bodice. And the one that's called on the fold, that's my back bodice. So we're gonna put our back bodices together, and here's our front bodice. This is our top front bodice. We have 4 of those because they're cut mirrored. So we've got the lining and the outer, like so, and then we've got 2 of these also here, the bottom bodices, that's the front, and then for the back we've got one long straight piece, and then the back bodices. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go and put in a gathering stitch here at the top of the bottom bodice to gather it to fit that top back bodice. And then we're going to do the same thing on each side of this bottom front bodice. So we're gonna gather it here because it's gonna gather to fit this, and this is gonna gather to fit this. So we're gonna put in gather stitches here and here. So here, here, and here. So we're gonna do that. So let's put that aside here. That's our first step. Second step, you all know I like to try to do as many steps as possible. We're gonna grab our back top yoke, and we're gonna face the lining and the outer right sides together, and we're going to sew this neckline area right sides together. Remember, your seam allowance for this pattern is a 1/2 inch. So we're gonna sew that up, and then we're going to kind of clip it a little bit. I'm gonna use my pinking shears. I love using pinking shears, but if you don't have pinking shears, you can cut like little triangles or something, especially here at the curve. So when we go to flip it, or you can just trim that seam allowance, so when you go to flip it, it has less bulk. So we're gonna sew that together right there with a straight stitch. And another thing that you need to do is start your little ties. You're gonna have little front ties here to tie your top closed. It doesn't give you a pattern piece for ties, and there's different ways that you can make ties. There does have a tutorial on there on this pattern how to make the ties. But literally all I'm going to do is, you could make bias binding ties, but I'm just going to grab fabric, and I cut this about 1.5 inches wide, and it really just depends on how thick you want these straps. I'm just gonna fold them right sides together, and then I'm gonna go over to my sewing machine and sew a long stitch. So I'm just gonna, and then I'm gonna trim it and turn them right side out, and that's going to be my ties. I'm just doing something super simple for the ties. It doesn't really tell you how long they need to be or anything like that. So I'm just making like one long, I actually have 2 long ties, but you're gonna need 4 ties essentially. So I'm gonna sew it all up, and then once it's sewn up, I'm going to like kind of tie a bow and see how long I would want them to be. They don't need to be super long, but I definitely want to have enough. So I think really this one piece will be enough, because if I cut it in half and then in half again, like this is how long each piece will be. So like sewing it together, closing it, yeah, I think that this one piece will be enough. So each strap is going to be, for me, I'm going to measure and tell you exactly. Each strap is going to be like about 8 to 9 inches long, and about a 1/2 inch gets eaten up when you sew it on. So let's say it's gonna be like 8 inches long, and I think that's long enough. So It really is up to you how long you want them and how thick you want them. So I'm just gonna go ahead and prep that as well. So we're basting, I'm gonna put in a basting stitch together. We're sewing the straps together, and we're sewing the front, the lining and outer yoke at the neckline here. And then we'll move on to doing the bodice. This is a really quick and easy sew, and I think it's gonna be super cute. For the gathering stitch, I'm just increasing the length of my stitch to like a 5. I'm leaving a long tail at the beginning and then a long tail at the end. And I was stitching about a 1/4 inch away from the edge so that once I sew it, it kind of hides that basting stitch, but you can always pull it out at the end as well. All right, the clip just went everywhere. Okay, so what I'm gonna do first is this strap. So again, I'm just gonna cut the extra seam allowance off, and then I'm gonna turn it. While I'm here with these guys still, I'm gonna grab my neckline here of my back yoke, lining and outer, and I'm gonna trim that. All right, I've got this little turning tool, which is what I'm gonna use to turn my tie. Cut the corner kind of at a slant and started the corner first, the little slanted corner first, and it actually went through really nicely. Okay, so here I have my tie, my little ties. So I'll cut that up into 4 pieces to create my ties. Okay, so there's my ties, and here at the end, I can just like tie a knot. I'm gonna do that to all of them. All right, now I'm gonna grab my front yokes, and I'm gonna place them here like this, and I'm gonna grab my ties and I'm gonna place them right, like 2 here at the beginning, at the starting point. And what I like to do is kind of pin it from the inside, but like it's gonna be here at the top, because this top is gonna get top stitch as well. You gotta kind of go down a little bit, the allowance there. So you don't want it to be like, you don't want it to get cut at the top. So you just want it to get cut here. That makes sense. So go down like a 1/2 inch, go down a 1/2 inch. So you're catching, this is the seam allowance here. So this tie is not gonna get cut inside the seam allowance. It's just gonna get cut here in the front. So here's the other tie, again, a 1/2 inch down from the top. And then 4 inches down from that, I don't know where I put my seam gauge, but I have a little ruler here. 4 inches down from that, we're gonna put the other one. And then we're gonna grab our lining yoke or outer, and we're gonna place it right on top, sandwiching those straps in there. And we're gonna sew the neckline and the front. We're gonna go down and then turn here and go down this way. All right, so we can go sew that. I'm also going to prep my front bottom bodice, and this is my armpit area. So we need to grab, oh no, this is my back piece. What am I talking about? This is my back piece. Here's my front piece. This is my armpit area. This is my front. Because we want to gather this, it doesn't matter here so much because this is not going to get sewn up. We're going to grab our fronts and we're going to match up right sides together here at the front. And we're going to sew up to my markings with my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now, actually, you know what? Before I do that, okay, how this is gonna go is I'm gonna show you. There's a marking here. I'm gonna probably do a little bit higher than the marking just because I don't want my V to be so low. I probably will wear something underneath it. I'm not comfortable with wearing so low cut anyway, but it does tie close. But the lower you want it, you really can just, however low you want it, place that marking. So let me just go like right around here. It's kind of close to the marking. And again, I'm gonna probably wear an undershirt underneath it. But what I'm going to do is I'm gonna start at the bottom and I'm gonna sew up with a straight stitch, leaving my 1/2 inch seam allowance, going all the way up to that marking. Then after the marking, we're going to back stitch there because we're gonna open up the seam allowance and top stitch it open here. So that way this will be like my opening here in the front because it goes lower. So it's gonna be open here in the front. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and go to my serger first and finish off the raw edge of this seam here. That way when I open up the seam allowance, it will go one way and another way. I usually like to go ahead and finish off my edges with my serger after I sew it together, but if I do that in this case, then this would be closed all the way up, and I don't want that closed all the way up. I just want it close to the mark here, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go straight stitch up to the mark, go back stitch here, and then I'll open up that seam allowance and top stitch it open. But so first, I'm going to serge all the way up. Again, the strings are here that I'm gonna be gathering with. Don't worry about like if you finish them with a serger, because you can gather from this side and just pull in, so it'll be fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and first finish the 2 front edges and then sew it together here up until that mark. When I go over the tie, I'm gonna do a back stitch over the ties just to really get them nicely in there. Stop at the corner, lift up your foot, turn around and go around the neckline. When I get to that point, I'm gonna back stitch. All right, so now I can go ahead and trim that around the neck area as well, kind of give it a little trim of that seam allowance here. Okay, and I'm gonna flip that over. Look out that corner, and that should look really good right there. So there it is. This is my front with the ties. One front, and here's the other one. And again, you know, it tells you to put the tie right at the top, but if you didn't want the tie at the top, if you wanted it lower, wherever you wanted that tie to be, that's your choice, that's your design. That's where you can play with the design and make it a little bit different. Now I'm gonna go ahead and seam that around, and if you need to go understitch, you can understitch by turning that seam allowance towards the lining and top stitching. I think it's fine if you don't, or you can just top stitch around the front. It's up to you. Same with the back, the neckline area. We're gonna flip that over and steam it, but if you want to do understitch, you can go ahead and do that now as well. So then I'll have my back and my front, and then I'm gonna sew them together at the shoulders, but I'm gonna steam them first. Now for the front bottom, for the bottom front bodice bottom. For the front bodice bottom, we're going to open up that seam allowance here where we sewed up and continue that all the way up the top. You see how now it's split open here where I want that to be opened, so you still have this opening elongated all the way down. So however far down you want that to be, that's up to you. So then we can go ahead and top stitch this down, and you could just do a same color thread and go down, turn and up, or you can go all the way down if you wanted to be like more of a even look. You can go all the way down, or if you didn't want to show, you can just hand stitch it down. It's really up to you. I'm just gonna go find the same color thread and I'm just gonna go down. So if you're gonna do that, when you top stitch this as well, you can actually top stitch all the way down, straight down here. So I may just go ahead and sew these two together first and then come back afterwards and top stitch all the way around and go down here and up the other side, because that's essentially what you're going to be doing. You're going to be top stitching this down, so you can, you know, do that at the end if you want to, I think. And I'm saying that, and then I'll let you know when I get to that point if it's too hard to do it that way, and then you can just not. All right, I'm going to now go ahead and focus on attaching the Well, actually, I want to do the first. No, we can do either one first. We can do them all at the same time, actually. We're gonna grab, so let's do that. Let's grab the, sorry, in my brain. I've got my bodice back and my bodice fronts, and we're gonna sew up those shoulders. So open up that back bodice top, and then that front bodice, each bodice, we're gonna match up those shoulders here and sew those up, right sides together. Once I sew them, I'm going to also finish the raw edge by serging, the raw edge by serging them. So that will be the shoulder seam there, and then on the other side, the other shoulder seam. You can check and make sure you're getting them right by folding them over and making sure that it's facing the right way before you sew them. You see if this is facing the right way. So we're gonna go ahead and sew those shoulders, but at the same time, you know what? You can do it at the same time, you don't have to. You're going to, because you're gonna sandwich those bodices into the bottom. So you know what? Let's go sew the shoulders because I don't want it to look too confusing as I'm trying to do it. Let's go sew the shoulders and come back. It's not what I would do. I would always do it all at once, but I just don't want to confuse anybody. And there's no reason why it has to be done right now. I need to stop. I'm wasting more time by talking about it than I am if I would just go ahead and sew it and come back and do the next step. All right, the shoulders are sewn, so now you can see it starting to take shape. These are my front and back. Right there. You can open that shoulder seam and steam it open here. That's what I'm gonna go do real quick. Okay, so I steamed them open right there. So that when you fold it, it's gonna lay nice and flat. Okay, so this is my top bodice here. It's looking really cute. Now what I'm gonna do is what I mentioned earlier. So I've got, this is my front bodice. So we're gonna gather each side to fit, which I didn't do that yet. That was our one step that we were supposed to do and I didn't do it. I just put in the gathering stitch, but I never gathered it. So let's do that. And once that's gathered, we're going to kind of, okay, we're going to fit, sandwich. So we're gonna turn it like right, okay. I keep saying okay because I want to explain it. It's kind of hard to explain. Okay, so if we grab this and place it right on top, right sides together, so the right side of the outer, whatever you choose to be your outer, whatever your outer is going to be touching the right side of the front bottom bodice, right? Then here we're going to flip it over so it's sandwiched. See how it's sandwiched? Now it's touching the back. So right there, it's a sandwich right there. So the right side of the lining is touching the wrong side of the back of the bodice bottom. You see that? Now, I don't know that you can do all of them at the same time, so we're gonna do one at a time. So let's go sew that one up. When you sew that up, because it's gonna be facing, like when you sew it, if you wanna pull it through, it's gonna be tucked in there. It's gonna be sandwiched in there, so you're not gonna see the seam. So I think just doing a straight stitch is just fine. You don't have to serge it. So we're gonna do that to each side. So we're gonna do that to this side, and then we'll come back and do it to the other side as well. You could do it right now because it's right here, depending on how much opening you have. Okay, so here's the other side, but I don't want it to get twisted. So let's just do that one side and come back and do the other side. All right, so when you flip that out, you should have, this should be what your front looks like. So that should match up really well right there at the front, and the inside is nice and flushed, so it's like sewn together here. You see that? When you go to top stitch here, you'll go straight down. So when I go to top stitch the front, if I want to go all the way down and top stitch. And this is as low, this opening is going to be as low as you want it, like we talked about earlier. Okay, now we're going to grab the other side and do the same thing. Okay, so we got to make sure that, so this is our front side here, right? So we're going to make sure that the front is matching up. Nothing's crooked back here. You want to match up the front right sides together. Once again here. Match it up really nicely here. And sometimes I like to put like a pin here on the inside that I can pull out later so it doesn't move on me. Like earlier it went to move on me and I had to re-put it together again because it like moved away. Okay. So, well, you can put another pin back here. I like to put it away from the seam so that when I'm sewing, it doesn't, the pin doesn't get in the way. And then this other side is going to come around the back and sandwich that down. Make sure it's straight and it's not crooked or turned or anything, because then you have like a bump right there. You don't want that. All right, then we're going to go sew that, and then we're going to attach our back. All right, so now we're going to flip that over again. Oh, remove those pins first. I'm like, that looks so weird. What did I do wrong? I didn't remove the pins, so it was looking wonky. Actually, you can trim those corners first, so it gives you a better, not so bulky corner there before you turn it. All right, so now we've got our bodice front basically completed. It looks so pretty right there. Okay, so now we're gonna do the same for the back. We're gonna grab our back piece and gather it. Let me find my center first. I like to gather to my center. So then we're going to gather to fit. And we have to be careful again, because this is whatever the front is. I'm going to put it right side up because that's the part that you really want. That's the most important part. That's the part that you want to touch right sides together. So this is the front area. So we're going to match up that front area right sides together here. All right. So then we're going to grab the other area here. Since we want that to cover up the other side, we're going to make it, it's going to kind of come down from, here's my front, we're going to kind of go around. So it's going to be like a burrito. And come around the bottom and sandwich that other side. So here's the front side, right side, and here's the gathered back side. This is the back of the bodice. And here comes the other side around. Gotta kind of turn it, like roll it here at the bottom and bring that around the front, the back. If this is confusing to you, you may wanna, you can base that one first and then come back and do the other one, but it really is just coming from the other side. Like it's just like rolling around, so coming around the back. So like you've got the front here, and then the other one is coming around the back like this, like, I don't know if that makes sense. So we're gonna go sew that up right here. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna grab my sleeves and I'm gonna put in a basting stitch here at the cap to gather this sleeve to fit my arm side when I'm going to attach it. I'm gonna lengthen my stitch and then I'm gonna put in that basting stitch at the top of the shoulder. All right, so now we can pull that out through that roll, like, you know, where the roll was, and everything should be, all the seams should be inside. So here's the front, and you can see those seams are inside, and if you turn it, the inside, that back is also on the inside. So that looks really nice on the inside, on the outside, and you can top stitch that if you want right there. But that looks really good. Now we're going to attach our sleeve. So we're going to open up this arm side area here and going to grab our sleeve. Make sure you've got the one. So this is marked for the backs and that's the front. So I'm going to match up this one, which has got the back on here, and we're gonna place it right sides together. So I'm gonna start here at the top, and then I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom, and then I'm just gonna gather this little bit here to fit. So I'm gonna go up to like about the yoke seam here, and then the rest I'm just kind of gonna gather it a little bit so it'll fit all the way in there. And then do the same on the other side, and do the same for the other sleeve. All right, let's go sew that up and come back, sew our sides, hem, and we'll be done. I think for the sleeves we put in a little bit of elastic, so I'm gonna check that, but we're almost done. Actually, once I sew this up, I'm going to serge the raw edge of the sleeve and of the bottom of the top, because I just like to do serge it and then fold over and top stitch instead of fold over. But if you'd like to do fold over for hemming, then you don't have to do that step. That's what I like to do. When I'm sewing the sleeves, I'm sewing a straight stitch first, and then I'm going to go and serge finish off those raw edges, because those edges are not going to be encased. They're going to be actually on the inside, but you're going to be able to see them. So I want to finish them off so they're not going to fray. All right, so now that that's done, we're gonna fold it right sides together, and we're going to first sew those side seams. And then we do elastic at the bottom of the sleeve. So then we'll fold that over to create the casing, top stitch it, insert the elastic, almost done. I also wonder what the sleeve would look like without the elastic. I think it'd still be cute for it to just be flowy. So you can try it on like that too as well if you would like that look. I think that would still be really cute too. You know, with patterns, the cool thing is that you can change them however you want to make them, and like have inspiration of something and then change it a little bit and make it just exactly yours, or make it different every time you sew it up. So let's say you sew up this top again, and you like it so much you want to sew it up again, but you want to do something a little bit different so it doesn't look like you have the same top over and over again. You can just do a couple of tweaks to make it a little bit different, and yeah, it's still super cute. All right, let's go sew those sides, straight stitch, and then serger to finish off the edges. Then we'll come back, hem, insert elastic, and we'll be done. You know what I really dislike? When the thread has a notch here and it gets stuck because they notched the wrong side, or they notched it too high, and it breaks your thread. I really dislike when they do that so much. All right, so now at the bottom, we're just going to hem like regular. And at the sleeve, we're going to hem. My elastic that I'm cutting is about 1 inch wide. So since I'm doing 1 inch wide elastic, I'm gonna hem about a 3/4 inch hem. Or you could do 1 inch hem, or if you wanna do a smaller hem for like smaller elastic, that's again, up to you. They say 1 inch hem, but that's up to you. When we sew that up, we're gonna leave for the sleeve, we're gonna leave a gap where we're gonna insert our elastic. So don't forget to leave the gap. Last step is to insert elastic. All right, we'll head over to our machine, zigzag stitch that together there, close that gap, and we're done. All right, friends, we are done, and this turned out so cute. I love these sleeves and the ties here at the front. Now remember, I didn't go all the way down like the pattern called for. I came up higher, and honestly, next time I probably would come right to the opening. So the front you could do as one piece, and then start here at the bodice and just connect them together. I may do that next time just because I don't like it cut so low, and you would even cut a step of having to piece the two fronts together. So I think that would work. I think it's super cute with the little straps. The length of the straps was just perfect. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't. Go grab this free pattern, which I'll attach the link to the pattern below on the description box. Go grab it, come back, sew it up with me. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.